So we're going to look at some statistics and symptoms of depression, and we'll particularly focus on Christian depression. And if you're interested in getting more details or getting the complete teaching we have here, you go to christianhealthfordepression.org or veteransfreefromptsd.org. And again, we have. I would also recommend, if you're interested or if you have this, you want some information here, you want some teaching. If you're suffering from these oppressions, or you're a pastor or a counselor, go to Christian Health for Depression and click on the key biblical principles. There's 10 key biblical principles, and then we have about 25 video teachings. But the key principles, you can listen to those and see if you're interested. Listen to the 10 key principles. Those key principles, we believe that we've had many people come out of these oppressions. We've had good success, and we've got some good testimonies. This works. The Word of God does work. The truth will set the captives free. Jesus has come to set the captives free, so this does work. So in the United States today, it affects about 20% of the population. There's twice as many women as men experiencing depression. And this is interesting also. We do work with people who have suicide issues and suicidal thoughts. And it's the stats here, even though these stats go up and down a little bit, but 15% of depressed people will commit suicide. So this is a very serious issue affecting, more than 17 million Americans and who knows how many around the world. And we know in different countries that suicide and depression are major problems. In Europe, for instance, in Ireland, they've been doing pretty well in Ireland here. They've been tackling this issue in Ireland for some time, and in Scotland also. But men are more likely to hide depression from themselves and others by self-medicating with alcohol or drugs, or working excessively long hours. Interesting also that the onset of depression increases sharply during the teenage years. We've seen this. That anybody who suffers any kind of traumatic event as a teenager or a younger child, any sexual molestation, these things these are spiritual problems. They can cause depression, and they can cause PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So we see that, and then it comes out during the teenage years, then gradually rises to peak around 40, and the average onset then is age 30, with treatment began usually about 3 years. Again, these are statistics that go up and down and change somewhat over the years. Types of depression: major depression, characterized by a deep sense of sadness or unhappiness and a lack of interest in things used to enjoy, such as hobbies, friends, or sex. Very common again. Bipolar disorder, characterized by alternating periods of depression and elation. The high periods are called mania. So the causes of depression, and again, this is why we go into this thing and look at the spiritual side. From our experience, if you don't tackle the spiritual side, you usually don't get any success. When you tackle the spiritual side of these oppressions, like depressions, panic attacks, PTSD, anxiety, fear, when you tackle the spiritual side of things, it's amazing how people can get free. So the cause of depression, there is no clear cause. Scientifically, that's a pretty scientific fact. They look in the brain, and they've studied a lot of things. There's lots of opinions out there on these things, but scientifically, empirical evidence, there is none. There is no clear cause. There's Dr. Peter Breggin, Peter Breggin. Look him up on the internet, and he has said for some time now that there's no such thing as a chemical imbalance. He said that this chemical imbalance was a study done by Eli Lilly way back a number of years ago, and they came up with this chemical imbalance. But when they looked at the studies that was done, they turned out to be fairly false from, again, a big drug company. What do we expect? But again, this is Dr. Peter Breggin, and I would recommend people that listen to me here, go to the internet and look him up. Dr. Peter Breggin. Breggin, and listen to some of his videos on his website. They're very informative. And he also said that antidepressants can only mask the problem, and that these drugs are very dangerous. Now, again, if you're taking these drugs, just look into these things. Talk to your doctor, and check out and see what the truth really is here, because there's been a lot of falsehoods that have come out, and now we know that these things
These things have been looked at intensely, and we know there are other, there are people out here like Dr. Bregan who are actually telling us the truth about some of these things. So he calls psychiatry a pseudoscience and suggests that there are better approaches, and there are better approaches. So we talked about depression, and here are symptoms of anxiety attacks. We're going to run through these very quickly because I want to get to the meat of the details here as we get into this thing. And we're talking about, again, freedom from stress, fear, anxiety, oppressions, freedom from depression. And we're going to tackle, we're going to look at the spiritual side of these things, underlying beliefs they're called, and it's amazing. It's amazing when you look at the spiritual side and how the Word of God can help here. It's amazing what is in the Word of God relating to some of these issues. So we're going to jump into these fairly quickly. So I'm going to go over these fairly quickly. You can see them here on the screen. Feeling of overwhelming fear, surge of doom and gloom, feeling like you're in grave danger, shortness of breath, panic attacks, chest pressure or pain, feeling detached from reality. So these are all fairly common symptoms of anxiety. And here we're going to talk about panic attacks, and again the symptoms of panic attacks. Panic attacks, anxiety attacks, fear, depression, they are all kind of related here. And so a strong urgency to get out, run away, and escape from danger. Panic attacks, confusion, difficulty thinking clearly. Feeling you're about to lose control, very, very common. Feeling you're about to lose control. Feeling that you're going to lose your mind. This is very common attack. When we talk to people that they're hearing, they're inside, they're feeling that they're losing their mind. Again, these are spiritual issues. That's why you need to look at the spiritual side. Where is that coming from? You're going to lose your mind. Where are those thoughts coming from? So we're going to look into that a little deeper. Emotionally upset, distressed, feel like you're going crazy, feel like you're about to freak out. That's very common also. You're going to freak out. You can't control yourself. Pounding heart, racing heart, very common. So these are some of the symptoms of the panic attack.